Hello and welcome to KennyRoy.com. I'm Kenny Roy. This is the Ask Videomail for the week of September 22nd, 2014. Welcome to the site to you new members, and welcome back to you old members. The Ask Videomail is your chance to get your question in character animation or performance answered in a video just like this one, but I need your question if I'm going to answer it right. Yes! So please send your questions to webmaster at KennyRoy.com. I go through all the questions and I answer the ones that I think will help the most people. There's no such thing as a stupid question, and it is the best way to get the most out of the site. What is up? What is going on with you all? Hope you're having a good start of your fall. Hope you are enjoying the cooling of the earth if you are in the northern hemisphere. And I hope your summer is mild in the southern hemisphere. Although, admittedly, I'm every other year I spend Christmas, and I put it in quotes because I'm used to North American Christmas is in the winter, but in the southern hemisphere Christmas is in the summer. So I spend Christmas every other year in New Zealand, and it's sweltering hot in New Zealand in December. So, at any rate, I'm not just wishing that your summer will be mild. I'm wishing that my summer will be mild as well. So, it's not all altruism from here. A little bit of selfish desires as well. This is the Ask Videomail, and don't forget, you guys are driving this. You guys are in the driver's seat. Whatever you want me to talk about, you got to let me know and send those questions in. Don't forget, also, the site is very, very, very generous. It's a giving site. There's a lot of ways that you can get free time on the site. There's a lot of ways you can actually earn a little bit of money back. There is a affiliate program. If you have no idea what it is, just go ahead and click on the affiliate program link that's on the menu right there, and take a look at it. Because if you use your affiliate link and somebody signs up or buys any lectures from the store using your affiliate link, you get a little commission on that. It's kind of cool. So you get rewarded for spreading the word about KennyRoy.com. And maybe some things you should mention if you are spreading the word about KennyRoy.com. Maybe the first thing you want to say is it's the only site of its kind where in-depth animation information comes directly to you on a weekly and monthly basis. Tell them that the users are driving the content with the video mails. And I don't know, maybe tell them this Kenny Roy guy is a really cool looking guy. Or maybe not cool looking. I don't know, kind of dorky. All right, let's get to the question. I think you are going to enjoy. Check it out. Great question. Glad you asked it, because I'm dealing with a little bit of this on the on a project that I'm doing for a client right now in terms of what style we want to bring kind of to the table on it. I'll answer kind of generally first. In general, you do not want to use a lot of animated reference for your stuff. In general, animated reference is should be avoided, and the main reason for that is because animated reference kind of gives you a false representation of the motion that you're trying to create. Because in animation we interpret motion, and so you're copying a sort of interpretation of the real thing. It's almost like a photocopy of a photocopy. There's some degradation that occurs. So as awesome as something animated is, in general, we don't use animated reference really at all. Always from life. To get a little bit more specific with this answer, I would say that when you are looking for reference for a shot that is particularly cartoony, you guys know from my cartoony lectures that the cartoony style is actually animated impressionism, meaning the what you're trying to get across is not the unrealistic or pushed version of that motion. It's the realistic version of some other motion that gives the impression that you're trying to give. Like if they can't get out of that, get away from something fast enough, then if their legs are spinning like this and then they go, what is that the impression of? That's the impression of when you floor the gas in a muscle car, the rear tires spin before it goes, or like a drag racer, okay? So that is them wanting to get away so fast that they floor it and their feet aren't even gripping the ground, and then they go. It gives us that super strong impression of the desire of that character to get away. Maybe they see a monster or whatever and they need to get away, and then they're out, right? Really fun, sort of standard cartoony zip out. All right, that was animated with the impression of a spinning tire. And you would look at a spinning tire, you would look at drag racing footage, and you'd look at that kind of stuff to see how to get your character to look the strongest like that. You watch that animated version of that thing, then you're going to be looking at poses, you're going to be looking at kind of like the body mechanics of the character that was animated, and not creating your own. So again, in general, animated reference is a no-no. However, I answered this question because this animator asked about the really old style cartoons, and if those are good to refer to because they're so crazy. And I wanted to show you guys something. I'm going to turn it down. Actually, I'm just going to turn the music off. If you've never seen this, this is a 1929 cartoon from Disney called The Skeleton Dance, and animated by Iwerks. Basically the first Disney animator. But at any rate, this is a classic cartoon, and it's basically like this Halloween sort of, choreographed, funny, it's a silly symphony, okay? And the one thing that is super true about when you watch this is that, to be completely honest, I mean, we all kind of have to acknowledge that, they were still figuring a lot out in the early days. And, like this would never fly today, even in like a Saturday morning cartoon. Like, for instance, these Cat and Nine Tails being on a, just a continuous loop, having two cats that are actually perfect mirrors of each other, and whatever. Like, even like the most low end client would reject this stuff because it's just too mechanical and whatever. So for that aspect, this is not good reference to watch. But I would say this: back then, they had a almost childlike attitude. It was almost like they were discovering all of this themselves, and they did some things back then that kind of, for me, sort of represent an extremely playful attitude towards animation. And for me, that's really cool, and I would recommend you guys watch some of this old stuff to kind of see like how crazy they would go, how far out there they would go. I couldn't find it. Like, look at that. He throws his own head, and the owl, all of his feathers get knocked off of him. Okay. I couldn't find it, but there was this cartoon I used to love. I think it was a cartoon named Bobo. I loved it because he'd be walking down the street, all noodly armed and whatever, and he would be singing. So like, look at that. See how like they're, that looks like a Genndy Tartakovsky, directed moment, from like Hotel Transylvania, where they're wagging back and forth. No, I guarantee you, nobody would make that choice right now. Nobody would make that choice. For them to be able to, like, it's almost like pinning the head. The head is in place, and the body is wagging back and forth. And look at look at the stretch that's happening right now. It's just for like the visuals and the fun of it. And this sort of like playfulness, and look, he turns him into a pogo stick. Like, this kind of playfulness is like a really the right attitude to have. So if you have like really good workflow, and you love body mechanics, and you're doing your due diligence with, the animation quality in 3D, the playfulness of these really super early stuff is great to refer to. See, this is what I was about to say, like making instruments out of your friends. The cartoon that I'm talking about is like Bobo. I think it's Bobo. He's walking down the street all noodly armed, and he's like whistling a song, and then he walks by and there's a cow, and he's kind of like, it looks at the cow, and the cow starts to like bopping to the music, and Bobo's like, all right, and he like picks up the cow, and all of a sudden he starts like playing him like a bagpipe, I think, or her. It's like playing the udder, like a bagpipe. And then there's this part where like he takes the tailpipe out of like this car and sticks it in the cow's mouth, and then starts like going like this, and all the while kind of like walking down the street and whatever. And if you just saw, he stretched the tail of the cat and started plucking it like a bass. Anyway, I just think that what struck me about that is that there's sort of like this sweetness to it. There's sort of like everybody is there, everybody wants to be involved, everyone's having a good time, and even if like you pick up somebody and you turn their body into a musical instrument, they're just thrilled to be, a part of it. They're just thrilled to have it all, have it all be happening around them. And so I just like the sort of innocence and the childlike quality of this old stuff. It's really nice to have that attitude. So I guess to answer your question, no, the rule is that basically no animated reference. In general, no animated reference. Go right to the source, especially for cartoony stuff. And you might think it's funny that I say especially for cartoony stuff, but if you haven't seen the beginner, the intermediate, or the advanced cartoony, you should go check those out, because I talk a lot about that in those lectures. But for realistic stuff, of course, you're going to be using going right to the source and getting a reference, from life. So, but the really old stuff, there are some gems in there for like fresh ideas, and for like, crazier and more out there and more fun than you would really ever go today. They really kind of, as they were discovering how to do this, they were I feel like they were totally limitless, and that's just really, really beautiful to me. So anyway, great question. You guys know the address to send more questions to, webmaster@kennyroy.com. I read those all, and you get 2 free days added to your subscription. Every single question you send in, doesn't matter if I answer it or not. So send those in and get that free time. All right, appreciate it. It's been fun. I'm Jiminy Cricket. Good luck with your animation. As always, rock on.